Hey, what's going on? This is Nick LS, and this is my Ninja 400, which I have now officially owned for 1 year. And let me tell you, I couldn't be happier. This is an absolute beast of a machine. It dominates the little sport bike class. And let me tell you about my experience over this past year. So I bought it in September of 2022, which is now 1 year ago, and I bought it used, private party. It was about 2 hours away from my home. I found it on Craigslist. It was up for about a day or two before I contacted the seller, and then I arranged to see it in the next couple days. And let me tell you, I planned on buying this bike before I even got there. The pictures were absolutely gorgeous. It had some nice aftermarket goodies. The guy had installed the LV10 Leo Vince. He had the spools on there as well as the radiator guard. It had what, 3,500 miles on it. It's mint condition, honestly showroom condition. The guy took very good care of it. If you're buying a bike used, make sure two things. Number one, the bike is mechanically sound, okay? And number two, make sure the person you bought it from babied it and took really good, meticulous care of it. Two big things. Yeah, so after buying it, I've had to do absolutely zero work to it. It's honestly just flawless at this point. The only things I've done are maintenance. And those are things like cleaning the chain, lubing the chain. I do that every few weeks or so. Washing the bike, I like to do that every month. I usually do the chain after I wash the bike. Another thing is the oil change. I did change the oil after the winter. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Filling up the tires with air, checking the air pressure. It's very reliable, extremely reliable. I have had zero problems with this bike since owning it. Even putting it away for the winter, it sat all winter without me touching it, and that was just fine, no problems there. So I started riding. Literally right when I got this bike, I took the MSF course in September, and then a week later, after passing that class, I bought this. So this is the bike that I learned on, and let me tell you, it is an absolutely perfect bike for a beginner. This has plenty of power, plenty of get up. It's super light. It's easy to handle and maneuver. This bike has been perfect for me. I have learned so much on this bike, and I was able to apply a lot of the skills I learned in the MSF basic rider course with this bike. Yeah, I mean, it's literally a 10 out of 10 I would give this, and I would highly recommend this bike. It's super comfortable too. It fits me perfectly. I am 6'1", I fit perfect on it. Before I actually looked into the Ninjas, I just went to a local dealership, and I sat on a bunch of bikes to make sure, that I was going to buy a bike that I wanted, that fit me, and the 400 was that bike, so I went for it. I've learned so much in this past year of owning this bike. When I first started riding on this bike, I did kill it by letting out the clutch too fast, and looking back at that, I mean, that's silly at this point. Riding this bike is just automatic, second nature. Now, and speaking on that, this bike is really hard to kill because the clutch on here is super light. That's one of my favorite things about this bike, is how light this is. There's really no problem going from, neutral to first and then trying to start the bike, letting the clutch grab. I mean, it just grabs so smooth. I know a lot of those older bikes at the MSF course, that was kind of tricky, but this, no problems at all. I started out riding, at lower speeds, and eventually worked my way up to freeway speeds. So I learned a lot about acceleration and top end speed for myself. Learned a lot about cornering and turns and just basically how to navigate and ride on the road. And it's been perfect for me. This is honestly the most perfect bike you can get as a beginner. There are comparable bikes out there, like the R3 I've heard really good things about, but there's no doubt in my mind that the Ninja 400 just completely dominates that little sport bike class. I've rode the bike for a little over 1,000 miles at this point. Through 1 year I've taken it roughly 1,400 miles, and I've loved every minute of it. I absolutely love riding this bike. It's become an addiction, it's become a hobby, and something that I'm extremely grateful for in my life to do is to ride. And it's all thanks to this Ninja 400. I've had so many wonderful experiences on this bike and so many stories to share and tell, and it's just been fantastic for me. I've even had a little bit of fun with modifications myself. I did mention the 3 mods that the previous owner had done, but in addition I did buy, this is a Puig dark smoke windscreen. I put that on there, which was pretty nice. I bought this here just so I can see it while I'm riding. It's kind of cool, the keychain that says Ninja, and then as well as the fender eliminator back here. And I guess just kind of speaking about these aftermarket additions, I think a lot of these are popular because the stock exhaust and fender are kind of bulky. Just kind of cleaning them up with the smaller exhaust and louder exhaust, because the stock exhaust of the Ninja 400 is pretty quiet, so it's nice to get that beefed up. And the fender eliminator just if you don't know the stock eliminator, or the stock fender, it comes all the way out. So just to really clean that up into one little piece there, just the license plate, is pretty nice. Yeah, the windscreen is nice. It complements the black accents of the bike, and it helps see the gauges a little bit better. If it's a sunny day, sun is gonna not be as bothersome with the gauges. Now let's speak about the gauges real quick. I just absolutely love the digital gauges. That's something that totally helps me as a beginner. Seeing what gear I'm in was really nice. I know some bikes don't have a digital gauge and they don't tell you what gear you're in, but for me that really helped, especially just learning how to ride. And it's a nice heads-up display. You have your time, you have your miles, your fuel, the temperature, your range. It's awesome. I absolutely love the digital gauge on this bike. I talked a lot about the things that I like on this bike. Now let's talk about the one thing that I don't like about the bike, and that is, and it's kind of a theme, is the big bulkiness. Right here, the mirrors. These mirrors look like bug antennas. They're huge. They are. A lot of people, I think, would agree. And one thing that you can do is get aftermarket mirrors, the little stealth mirrors. They're tiny, and they can flip. Those look awesome in my opinion. They look awesome, but they don't really suit the needs of visibility. I've heard you can't really see out of them, and that's something that I always do. I'm always looking in my mirrors, especially when coming to a stop, and I'm not gonna reduce my visibility for that aesthetic look. So that's just the way it's got to be. You just got to ride with the big mirrors. I'll start up the bike and give it some revs so you can hear what it sounds like. So yeah, that Leo Vince LV10 sounds really nice. The bike just sounds amazing when I'm riding. Something I can speak to is more people can hear you on the road, and it's also good to be louder, something that helped me at least, was I could hear when I needed to shift the bike. Like I said, the stock exhaust is pretty quiet from videos I've watched. I never rode it with the stock exhaust, but I will say that you can hear, you can actually hear when the bike needs to be shifted, because I was still new and learning when to shift with the RPMs. So yeah, bike sounds great, it looks great. I am absolutely satisfied with this bike. 100% recommend anyone buy it. I've had a lot of fun with it and I couldn't be any more happy. Thank you for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment, it really helps, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.